What's up, team? Welcome to the Huddle, where your weekly playbook, where we talk about not only strategizing on the game, but changing it. From mastering the fundamentals of the craft to distinguishing ourselves in the marketplace, we're here to give the installer a voice and ensure you're equipped with everything you need. Let's band together and forge a new legacy in flooring. This is where you belong. Welcome to the team. What's up, guys?
Welcome to the team.
What's going on, brother?
What's up? We got Ben with us today. Ben is
Kevin,
AKA Kevin.
AKA Kevin. What's up, guys?
Ben's the CEO
What's going on, brother?
of Go Carrera, and here to discuss today's topic, managing your time and resources. Speaking of, how you guys been managing that time and resources this week?
Horribly, man. Things have just been they have just been popping up this week, and like
Is it like new projects or
no, it's just like someone walking into the office, or like I was at a chamber event this morning. Then as soon as it ended, like I get a phone call while I'm there, and I answer, and they're like, "Hey, how do I get a quote for some carpet?" And I'm like, what's the address? You know, is this residential or commercial? They're like, it's residential, and this is the address. I'm like, you know what? I'm right down the street. And they're like, cool, I'll see you in 10 minutes.
Well, that's a new opportunity. Those are at least a little bit understandable, but there's some real sucks out there I was going to bring up and ask you guys, what's your biggest time suck?
it all depends on what day and what we got on our agenda.
That one was nice though, because when I showed up there, right, and we're talking, and he's like, you know what, you were my third phone call. I just Googled, different businesses around here. He said the first one didn't answer the phone. The second one was like, you know what, I'm like 4 to 6 weeks out. And he was like, you were like, I'm right around the corner, basically. He said, I don't even care, man. He said, just give me a quote. We'll work something out.
That same thing happened to me today. As I got a phone call, probably about maybe 4 miles from our office, and I got some hard surface in my kitchen that's failing. Could you come and take a look at it and kind of lead me in the right direction? Like, should I put plank over it? And I get there, and the story changed a little bit. The wife's like, "Can we just regrout it?" And I was like, "I'm sorry, man. Like, I wouldn't do that. They just put it right over the wood substrate. Like, they didn't do it the right way. That's going to keep happening. Well, can't we just install the floating floor over it? You can if you want, but I wouldn't advise that, and I wouldn't do that for you."
Well, good on you for not doing crappy work.
Man,
but when we're talking time sucks, we're talking about things that don't provide any value to you or your business and suck a bunch of time. And before you know, it's the stuff that when you go home and you look back at your day and you're like, I didn't get shit done. I didn't feel personally. I hate it when I get home and I don't feel like I did anything productive that day. Like I just was doing stuff. And one of my biggest time sucks is got a minute meetings. Hey, you got a minute?
Yes.
Hey, you got a minute? Hey, you got a minute? For sure. Those suck out. 10 minutes here, 10 minutes there, 20 minutes. And then, the kind of time frame it takes you to get back into whatever you were doing.
Yeah. That's you're absolutely right.
I just realized I'm taking care of other people's priorities. A lot of times people call me and they ask me things and they're legitimate, but I end up spending my time taking care of other people's issues rather than the ones that are really most important to me. And I just try to keep in mind why, or try to keep in mind what's going to yield the results that, I'm supposed to deliver, and just try to invest my time in those places and not get distracted by something else. And sometimes the thing you get distracted by is kind of interesting and fun for that minute. So it's easy to do that.
I know. It's like a reprieve from the hard work that what you should.
Right. For sure, that's what happens.
You know what? You're right. Chasing information, it seems to be the hardest, the biggest time suck for me lately, is just knowing that there's things in place where information can be put, but not everybody finds it important.
Yeah.
So,
Well,
he seems-
I like what you said. Dealing with or chasing one of the two other people's priorities. So one thing that there's a bunch of different time management theories and processes and things, but the one that's always landed best with me personally has been what's called a D6. A gentleman by the name of Chet Holmes had a program that I took back in 2006, I think it was. It was called Chet Holmes International, and he's a business guy, and he taught time management and having a master. And this is just the simple part of managing your to-dos, which there's a lot more to time management and resource management than just this. But just managing your to-dos, having a master list, and then transferring off of that master list, that basically gets written once a week. And then every day before you leave, most advantageously, before you leave your office that day or before you shut down the old computer or brain for the day, you write down the 6 most important things off of that master list for the next day. And the theory is that your mind, your subconscious, basically will work on that on its own while you sleep and while you're recuperating. And in the morning, you get there and you start attacking that D6. Very similar to that is one of my mentors, Andy Frisella, who I was in Arate for 3 or 4 years, and he's one of the head guys there. He has the power list, and it's 5 items. You can buy his power list online, but essentially the same theory is work on the most important things for that day and don't leave until you get them done.
Yeah.
Now, every once in a while you get some hurdle that prevents you from doing something, but for the most part you want to not leave just because it's 5 o'clock somewhere. But
this sucks to say it like that, but yeah.
Yeah. But that you're actually completed with the 5 items or 6 items. And Andy says, heck, if you finish them at 2 o'clock and those are the 5 most important things you could do that day, you should leave as a business owner.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
You mean don't find 20 other things to put on your list and then try to tackle that?
Unfortunately, that's how I've done it mostly, to be honest with you, which is not really following the reward system side of this that he talks about. Is like, man, if you get the 5 most important things done by 2 o'clock, you deserve to leave. You deserve to get out of there and go, because as business owners, we know that we're going to have we're going to have plenty of days that you're staying until 8, 9, 10 o'clock at night.
Oh, yeah.
So we're not banking time, really. It's not how we work in our heads.
Right.
But there's going to be plenty of those days that you are going to work, well past when everybody's left and shut the lights off to finish your D6. But if you're just as committed to staying late, you should be just as committed to cutting out a little early if you get it knocked out.
You just made me look at it a little differently.
That's how Andy does it. The point, though, is master list converted to a daily list of what you're going to knock out that day. Keeps you focused and executing on tasks that should be broken down versions of your long-term
bigger goals.
Mm-hmm.
There's another tool that I've used quite a bit called EOS, or Entrepreneurial Operating System, which sounds like, based on what you said, sort of a different version of some similar activities. But you can Google that, EOS or Entrepreneurial Operating System, and the most basic tool is called a Vision Traction Organizer, or VTO. And what's really great is on the front and back side of a piece of paper, you end up with long-term, medium, and short-term goals, all within that one piece of paper that is super easy to review and super easy to kind of make actionable. And you end up everything from weekly goals to 10-year vision. And I think that it's a great tool to use, especially for small, fast-growing companies, because it really keeps your mind on these longer-term goals and just chipping away at them, so that you look up in 3 months and all of a sudden these big things are falling your way. And so check out Vision Traction Organizer and the Entrepreneurial Operating
Right. It's EOS.com or something like that, right?
Yeah, it is.
And there's the books and everything. We talked quite a bit about those in earlier episodes.
Oh, you have.
Gino
Wickman.
Yeah, Wickman.
So we use EOS at Stuart and Associates, self-implemented. The EOS is like, for us, we set our quarterly rocks, and then our weekly to-dos, which and then you have issues to discuss during that weekly leadership meeting. That can easily be broken down, that thought, from an installer standpoint. And I know there's a lot of flooring contractors that run EOS, but from an installer standpoint, for those of you that are installers in our audience, the idea is still you should have goals for your business, for your installation, and then you end up the next day executing on those. And those can be by project. One of the things that I always talk about, when I was installing every day, I wasn't the fastest because I could spread glue faster, or because my heat gun or my welder was somehow faster at welding. It was all process oriented. It was all about, I had a very systematic mindset, which I still have. And so I approached jobs in making sure that tomorrow I'm not coming in and patching floors, for example, and waiting for floor patch to dry. If I have to stay an extra hour,
an hour today, 4 hours tomorrow.
Yeah. If I could stay an extra hour to patch all the saw joints in 6 classrooms I'm gonna lay carpet in tonight before I leave, then tomorrow I'm just rocking and rolling. And so there's a lot of these concepts that can be used for your installation, day-to-day installation stuff, and making sure that you end up not only successful on projects, but that you also end up feeling like you got something done, that you didn't waste a bunch of time. There's nothing worse than going in, patching floors, and then sitting around for 4 hours for your patch to dry.
Especially when you're doing stuff that has to dry. That kind of planning really makes a big difference. The most proficient, productive installer that we had at Capital Tile, his main thing was just daily goals. He talked about daily goals all the time. He always had it. He always said it first thing in the morning or the day before, and those guys would stay until they met that goal, and it showed up in his results every day.
What kind of tools do you guys use? Actually, audience, what do you guys do? What's your guys' anybody want to chime in that's in the audience, that Eduardo maybe, or some of our weekly visitors and participants? But back to you guys, Daniel and Jose, what do you guys do? How do you just not become a leaf in the wind? You go into the office, and then just wherever the wind blows you that day is where you go.
What he did, right? I think making lists. So I make the list, and that's what I do. I kind of break it out into, because as a business owner, there's multiple different things, and it's like these are priority under this umbrella, and then they go like that. So I break them out like that, and then I try to keep on task. So the top priorities will be at the top, and then it goes down, and then I try to cross them off as I go. And then once you start talking about what starts wasting your time and stuff like that, it's getting a call on or getting an email from a bid that you already won, and it's like architect doesn't like your submittals. start getting on it again, and this project's supposed to be starting in like a couple weeks, and it's like, well, and like I talked to the GC and stuff. He's like, dude, these are the best submittals I've ever seen. I don't even understand why this architect is being like this. But it's like, you got to do what the architect wants. So now I got to spend my time trying to please the architect instead of getting some of this other.
That? Do you jump on that day, or do you just add it to your list for tomorrow?
I add it to the list, but it's something that has to get done, that takes priority over some of the other things on my list, which is like, so in the middle of my list is a bunch of proposals that are out for bid right now, right? So instead of doing some of these, it's all right, I have to work on something that I already have in the works that is going to take priority instead of doing something like that.
So let's talk about delegation.
If only I had someone to delegate it to.
Yeah,
I know the feeling.
So, yeah, we're trying to work to that.
But I'm working on this too, guys. So one of my biggest things is, if it can be done by someone else, then it should be. I'm kind of going through a coaching program now about how to be a CEO. I mean, if I'm just honest with everybody, I have struggled with that. But what I've learned, and what's really intriguing, is there's only a few things that a CEO can do that nobody else can do. There are things that only I can do. Those are the things that I must do. Everything else should be considered on how I can delegate it or delegate it. And one of the things that rose to the top for me is when we bid work, we have at Stuart and Associates at the flooring company, we have a rule that every job gets 2 sets of eyes, or I guess it'd be 4 total eyes.
4 eyes. Unless someone doesn't have 1 eye, or wears a monocle.
If they have glasses. So either two sets of eyes goes over the proposal, the spreadsheet, the takeoff, that kind of thing. So that's always fallen on me or my COO at the flooring company, Joel, or a peer review. Then the other big time suck for me, and that has turned into a full-time job, because we have decided that we don't just review the takeoff and the spreadsheet. We have now expanded that the reviewer needs to review the takeoff, the plans, specs, the takeoff, and the spreadsheet. So almost like considering it like you're getting ready to take it off by yourself again, like you're getting ready to do the estimate all by yourself. And so that process is a full-time job with as many bids as we put out. And then we have contract review and signing. So I do all of the signing of contracts. Those 2 are the biggest time sucks that I have. And one of the things that, and Nate, I feel your pain. That's one of the biggest things that we struggle with, is trust issues with people doing it. But we're in the middle. I've written the job description, and we are searching. So if anybody out in the audience wants to get a job, call me. We are searching for a bid and contract analyst. And that person will review every bid that goes out of our company. Of course, we'll train exactly what I want to.
It's going to be a pretty responsible job.
Very responsible. And of course, a lot of hand holding in the beginning, because it is going to take trust.
Yep.
But once you get someone trained to properly analyze the bid, sign off on it, make any changes that are needed, make sure that the estimator, hey, It mentions, it doesn't just mention epoxy setting and grouting. It says under the installation instructions, epoxy setting and grouting, you only have epoxy grouting. So you need to add epoxy setting. I use that as an example because we missed out on a job not so long ago.
It's a big miss.
And it's a big miss. Just the epoxy setting is an expensive miss. So, and then contract analysis. So if the bid analyst takes notes, then he can go back to those notes when the contract comes in, review the scope, and most of the terms and conditions, if you're getting consistent contracts from the same people, that's the same. It's the scope and the exhibits that we have to really analyze. Mm-hmm. And then in my ideal world, we're winning work and I'm getting contracts on my desk that says approved to sign. And then I just put my signature and date and send it back to our coordinator to send it back to the GC. So that is a huge time suck that I've identified. And it's hard to let go because is it important? It's incredibly important. But is it something that can be delegated, trained and delegated? And the answer is yes. Is it something that only the CEO can do? Or if you're an installer, is it something only the lead installer can do? And, I was probably a better lead installer than I am a CEO. I was better at delegating to my helpers on what to do and only doing the stuff that, as a mechanic, I should be doing. So putting together seams or in carpet or routing and welding layout, deciding the cuts, deciding the plan for the day, those kinds of things.
So it sounds like
I see Nate, another really smart comment Nate made. I believe with all my heart that if you write things down, the chances of remembering it go up 100%. So I totally endorse this whole idea. And for me, it even works, Nate, if I'm like taking notes on my phone. I still get, I think, the benefit of that memory. If you write things down, if you even repeat it 3 or 4 times and just do things like that, and you really will remember so much more than if you just hear something in passing. So that is a really good, super simple tool that I think makes a big.
It is one of those things that at first you're like, oh, I don't want to write this down, but you start realizing that you're hearing it, now you're writing it, now you're seeing it, and then if you read it, you just touch that same thing 4 times. If you touch it 4 times.
One trick I've done a lot is send myself an email.
Yep.
And it's super goofy, but it works. And
I thought that was a standard.
You guys, this just I cannot endorse my executive assistant enough to get an executive assistant that can handle your emails and calendar. That has been a huge savings to me. I might just get to lean on my finger or sit on my finger and lean back on my thumb if I can get this bid contract analysis position hired. Not really, just kidding.
Oh my goodness.
But Abby, who's my assistant, she's done fantastic, and she's not even here in the U.S. So you can hire a virtual assistant. I used a company called Wing, and that's where I found her. And it's about the same as if you hired here, maybe a little cheaper, but they're highly, highly trained and typically have technical skills that I don't know how old she is, to be honest with you, but I would guess she's around 25, and she has the technical skills that like blow me away, and research on things and, that kind of stuff. It's this might be a good time to announce. I wish we had some more people in the audience right now, but if you're watching this, we're going to be starting a new series that'll go forever, hopefully, here on the Huddle called the Blue Collar Cruise. And we're going to talk about the most relevant latest news topics. About once a month, we're going to pull them all off of various news reporting sites from everything in construction, not just flooring. Obviously, a lot of flooring, but AI stuff that's going on, new projects. I read an article today. I won't run it, but like just stuff that happens. And then we're going to just chat about it. We're going to give our opinions. We'd love for the audience to participate and give your opinions. It's going to give us some really fun talking points, I believe. But the Blue Collar Cruise, stay tuned. It's going to be coming July 9th, I believe, is our first episode of the Blue Collar Cruise. Yeah.
All right.
So we got some great topics we went through today, but guess who's aggregating and putting all that together after I've picked the articles? Abby and Ashlyn. They're working together to aggregate that and put it together for us three to review and talk about and get our opinions formed. But it should be a lot of fun. But that being said, that's what I'm getting at is a huge time saver for me is Abby.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome.
So kudos, Abby, if you're watching.
Doing work.
Get an assistant. You guys could use one. I think it would help you a lot. And
we could use a couple.
I'm telling you, you get one and you'll find out quickly that she supports more than just me. She supports a lot of efforts, secondary people, like secondary stuff that I don't necessarily I put in motion, and she goes and takes care of it. She might talk to Ben, she might talk to Ashlyn, she might talk to Dan. Like
honestly, whenever I need something done, I just let Ashlyn know. So
I didn't know you already had an assistant.
I got a question, Paul. I want to go back to what you said about if it could be done by others, right? And then the whole process happens. It comes back to you for signing. For everyone out there, is what does it look like creating those steps and the checklist to create that trust, right, for your team? So that way, at the end of the day, you have something on your desk that's ready for a signature and you're comfortable signing it. Or for people trying to build that, people like Nate and Kendall and myself and Daniel, who have a hard time with that trust factor, right? Because details matter. What does it look like, and how do you go about creating a checklist or a system like that so that way you can trust the process?
Well, that's a really great question. First off, I started with just the ideal, getting what I'm delegating into a job description. So I have a full job description for that. So now I know what I am going to expect for them to do. The checklist I developed during the training. I have a general checklist of items, but that's going to get added and deducted from. So I like the person that I'm going to have doing that to be involved in it. They'll own it more. And so some things might be taken off that checklist that I initially start, and it's right off the job description, review specs. Okay. I'm going to teach them how to review specs, but there's going to be a checklist there. Like, check this. If it says this, then check that. You know what I mean? Does the specifications match the finished legend? If not, which one's more detailed?
Yeah, spoiler alert, it doesn't.
This is true. About 92 to 99% of the time, they do not. And the point is, which one's more detailed? That's going to indicate to you which one the architect or designer spent more time on. Then from there, if it's still unclear, RFI it. Which one is superseding in general? And don't be flopping back and forth. I'm sure you dealt with this at Capital Tile, but the spec matters here, but the finished legend matters here, and it's the finished plan that matters here. And so that checklist will get built out as I'm training them. I know we will discover things together with a good person, the right hire, and then we'll form that checklist, and that'll be what they'll go through. And all the while, just like I said, you take notes, you guys take notes, they will take notes through this entire process. Why? Because then you have all these notes you can go back to when you're analyzing the contract. If you approve the bid and we get the contract, now you're analyzing the contract, and so you have some insight and you go back to your notes. So that's how I plan to do it. That's how I've done any new role, is allow that new role, my first hire in that new role, which unfortunately is not always the right hire, but you got to start somewhere. But forming that checklist with them.
And that's probably the best way to do it, because then you're learning together, and two people creating a checklist.
New roles in particular.
Yeah.
I think also, you know, when you go through that, you find key elements you can check fast and easily, and you figure those out in that checklist process as well. And you go back and maybe you check one or two things that, you know, if those things are right, that it gives you a really strong indication that the other elements of it are correct too. So you get some checks and balances in there that give you a lot of confidence.
Mm-hmm.
What about calendar or email or things like that?
Oh,
a couple of tricks that, and I'd love to hear your guys' input on how you handle your calendar and email, but pretty much everything, I would say good in the 90 percentile. If I'm doing it, it's on my calendar. If Abby's listening, don't pay attention to this, but if she said jump off a bridge, I might do it. If she told me which bridge, go to this bridge and jump off on the left side, I might do it.
If it's not on my calendar, I'll forget.
Use your calendar. We all have smartphones, or 99% of us have smartphones. If you have Gmail, you got a Google Calendar. If you have Yahoo, you have Yahoo Calendar. Every phone has some type of calendar. Live by that calendar. And then email wise, I'm really bad. Without Abby, I'm really bad with email. I allow it. I have it up all the time. I don't want to miss anything. I'm really bad at it. One of the things that I'm told is shut that sucker down and and time block. This is another time management thing, is time blocking. And so you set yourself on a task for a certain amount of time, and you can go to YouTube, and there's these timers. I think it's called the Pareto method or something like that. And you basically time block. It's around 15 to 25 minutes, and you focus on that thing for that amount of time. And you shut your door. There are no got-a-minute meetings. There is no email. You shut your phone off. Like, complete focus on that task. Email's tough because there's anxiety built around it. So
it's a mixed blessing, right? I mean, it's really good to have all that communication, but a time suck for me is the fact that I get an email, and especially if it's something that I'm interested in or excited about, I want to look at it and read it right then. And it takes 5 minutes to transition and 5 or 10 minutes to transition back. And you end up stopping and starting so often, or I end up stopping and starting on all these tasks. And if I can just, do email 30 minutes twice a day or something like that, it's so much better. And I think another thing, though, is having standards around answering email. I mean, for me, I try to answer email every day, and I have just a commitment to no more than 24 hours. And I think that having some idea of what you're comfortable with, one, it gives you permission not to do it right that second because you know you're going to do it. And I just think it makes you a lot more efficient.
Man, I gotta learn how to do that one.
Your notifications popping up, turn those off.
That's what bothers me.
I'm bad at it. I got a lot better, and obviously when you have an assistant that manages all your emails, that makes it even easier. But I would say shut off your notifications, look at your emails in a time block, give yourself a half hour, an hour, twice a day to siphon through your emails, respond as necessary. But one email trick that I did get pretty good at is breaking the habit of like reading an email and then unreading it so that you can get back to it. Breaking that habit and saying it goes in a folder, you either deal with it or delete it or put it in a folder for a review later folder of some sort. And then when you have time, you go do that. What I typically would do, and I still find myself like do it sometimes, is I read something, I'm like, okay, that's important enough, but I don't want to deal with it right now. So I unread it and I use that as my reminder. That's not necessarily the best way to do it, as I'm told. It's like time blocking for your emails or any communication.
That's a good idea. Cause you know what, that one of with the opening conversation about the time wasters or what's sucking our time, it is emails. Emails take up a lot of my time because I do exactly what you just said. I'll sift through all of them. I'll delete the ones I don't feel are important. I'll flag the ones I don't want to get anymore. But then I'll click on some just to say, oh, what does this person say? Oh, look at this project. Let me click that and put mark unread. I'll come back to it. And then I'll mark
never
it
come
unread.
back to it.
I'll mark it unread 3 times before I have the time to do it.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, what was this about? And like, oh, you know what? And then I wait till everybody's gone and it's quiet and I know there's no one going to be here. And then that's when I go, but yeah, that time blocking, I wrote that down. And then the folders, I got to get better at that. I have folders that probably haven't been touched in a couple years.
Yeah.
Because
they delete it, deal with it, or put it in a folder for later.
delete it, deal with it, or ditch it.
There you go.
3 Ds.
I always
Triple
love
D's.
That's your fave.
My son has 2 friends. We call them the Triple D's because they're all their names start with D. So we call them the Triple Dog Waters.
What's her real name?
Daniel, Dylan, and Dominic.
Okay.
All right.
That's what you should call.
You don't even know their real name, then you got a real problem. Like, I don't know, man. We just call them Triple D. I really don't know their name.
I have friends that didn't know my real name for years.
Well, that's because you had nicknames.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, I would ask people.
Just
They'd
like
be
Kevin.
like, yeah, they'd be like, hey, aren't you and then I'd be like, yeah, I'm Jose's brother. And they'd be like, no, I don't know Jose. Be like, oh, then I don't know who the hell you're talking about.
Yeah.
But no, yeah, it's because his nickname. They still don't know his real name right now, even though they have him on Facebook.
Correct.
So, that's kind of some overall time management stuff that I've learned over the years. Ben has worked for Fortune 500 companies to small business for himself, and now he works at a startup. So he's got a lot of experience in dealing with different demands. So his input on these things are valuable. So I appreciate you joining us.
Yeah,
today.
really glad to be here.
What about resource management? And to apply this to installers, I think it's taking care of your equipment, knowing where your equipment's at. We still struggle with this. Even this morning, one of our demo tools, a little Eddie, we couldn't locate one of them, and finally found out it was in this guy's van and had to have the warehouse guy go pick it up from this job site and take it over to this job site. But resource management is another key time killer if we're not careful. So how do you guys?
My goodness.
You guys got a great, I should say, a plethora of really cool tools. How do you guys manage to make sure that you know, especially some of the specialty stuff, that you know where it's at, that you know when you need it, managing that whole thing?
I think a lot of that is a lot of those specialty tools don't go out unless the project calls for it.
Well, sure.
That's one of the items. The other thing is that Daniel is very hands-on with helping the guys load that stuff up sometimes, and that's one of the ways to deal with it. But we just trust the guys to bring it back and put it back where it goes, where it's supposed to go. Does it happen all the time? No, it doesn't happen all the time, unfortunately. Unfortunately, when sometimes at the end of the day, depending on how hard the day was, it might make it to the. You've seen our setup. It might make it to, we have the area I call it the Milwaukee Way, right? It might make it to that unit, like in front of it, like literally 2 feet from where it goes, it might make it there. Sometimes it stays in the van overnight and they unload it in the morning. But for the most part, the guys are pretty good at putting everything back or in the vicinity. But that's one of those hard things to track. The smaller items, expensive items that are everyday use that are hard to find, that's a different story.
So a tool board, as Justin brings up, is we have a digital one. Works great, except when installers trade tools on a job site, because one guy needs it tomorrow and use it in this guy's van, but it's really with this guy, and this other guy needs it too, or this other crew needs it too. But yeah, we've had I don't know if you can manage it all the way out, but you should give it your best try. We did it online only because then all of our installers actually have it, and sometimes they can figure that out. Like, just call Rob and say, "Hey, Rob, you got this tool? Yeah, I need to meet you to grab it," kind of thing.
That's really good stuff right there.
Yeah, they have access because it's on Google Sheets, and they're shared to it, just like other stuff we want them to know about. So,
you know, it'd be really cool.
Jimmy, I'll be in Indiana this weekend.
So will I. It'd be really cool if they had some way to, like, you know, they got those, what they call them, the air tags. If there was like a better, like a sticker version or something way of doing that, to where when it goes out of the warehouse, it notices that it's no longer in the warehouse and it enters a van, it logs it into van 1, van 2, van 3. And then when it exits that van, it gives a GPS location of where it was exited. And if it doesn't get put back in, then it notices that it's in the red. It was not returned to the van. That would be a really cool thing.
They have equipment trackers, but it's for bigger equipment than what, you know, even, I mean, it'd work on our demo machine or a few of those bigger equipment, but a welder, it's like this big, you know. But yeah, I agree. If it was like a sticker this size that you could put your logo on and put your sticker on, and it's got a GPS tracker to always know where it's at, it would be fantastic.
Truth is, that's probably not too far away. That sounds
it's
pretty
probably someone's got something going.
Especially now that we're talking about it.
Sorry.
Would you guys do this, and then I'll buy the stickers?
Right. With all the spare time.
All the spare time.
We'll put it as a partner deal on Go Carrera.
Yeah, we'll put a partner deal on Go Carrera, and then
we'll block out 25 minutes for that.
That's efficiency.
No, but it's just something that we struggle with all the time. It's like, and a lot of it is, most of what we deal with is what you talked about. It's both vans are on this one job site. They unload both vans. They load up the tool, every single tool on one van instead of splitting them back up into two vans. And then they leave the shop the next day. No one checks for the tools. They get to the separate job sites and everyone's like, well, I don't have this and this.
And if they were only marked to what van they go to.
Yeah, that's a struggle, but we did toolboxes for each van, the big ones, full of your day in, day out stuff. And even that, because what's a guy going to say? Hey man, I don't have a broom. I need a broom. Oh, I've got mine in the deal. Well, then he takes his, and then he doesn't have it when he needs it, or whatever. Hey, I don't have a broom. Well, where's yours? Rob took it. Where's Rob's? I don't know. Ask him. And all the while you're trying to get a job done.
That sounds like a time suck.
That's a time.
Oh, what about this one? Hey, we're going out to a job to prep today. All right, here's who's going with me. Let's go, guys. Get all the way out there. Hour drive. Like, we don't have a mixer or any patching trowels. Oh my God.
That'll make you lose your mind.
But they don't call me.
The one thing I would say to everybody is progress, not perfection. Like, something is better than nothing. Take the steps, find out what could be better, and just kind of improve your systems. when it comes to equipment and resources. But your most valuable resource, if you'll treat it like money, is time.
Yeah.
We may not give away $20, but some reason as humans will give away 20 minutes, no problem.
Oh my goodness, you're so right. So right.
So think of your time literally like money, and don't let the cliche cloud your vision. The time is money cliche. Okay, we've all heard that. I'm saying, think of it like money. If you wouldn't give $20 to that person, why are you giving them 20 minutes?
That's crazy. And that can be used for some instances, right? Because I do have some times when a conversation person to person ends up becoming a relationship or a work relationship that benefits both parties. So I'd say hopefully not all of your time is wasted like that. Hopefully something materializes out of it. But I think what you're trying to say, Paul, is recognize what time is potentially wasted versus what time is invested.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not saying be a robot and you can never have a conversation with someone, but I'm just saying, like, it's really the got-a-minute meetings, which leads me to the last part of the time sucks. It's meetings, effective meetings. So Oprah Winfrey is famous for walking into the meeting, any meeting. What is this meeting is about? What are our key objectives? And how long is this going to last? Boom. Like, if you didn't know what you were there for, what the objective of the meeting was, like, what are you trying to get out of this meeting, and how long it's going to last, she's out.
Before, you can invite me to all the meetings you want, and I'll probably come. But if there's no agenda, I won't come. There has to be an agenda. It's along those same lines.
Yeah, similar. What do you want out of it? What's the agenda? What's a reason for this meeting? And how long is it going to last? Otherwise, you'll have a 10-minute meeting last 30 minutes.
You'll have a bunch of Jose's talking about everything but the meeting.
But people will fill up a meeting.
Jose will go down the vision board. And before you know it, it's a 30-minute meeting that could have lasted 15 minutes and gotten the same goals achieved. So that's a good one. Like, I'll probably go, but you better have an agenda and a reason.
What's this meeting about? Oh, we don't really know. We just want to send me an email. I'll see you guys later.
Yeah, and then mark it unread 4 times.
At least 4 times.
All right, well, we're nearing the end of the podcast, so I want to thank everybody for joining us. If you're watching this on YouTube, please give us a like, a subscribe, comment, thumbs up, thumbs down. We really don't care as long as you interact with us. Another thing, the Blue Collar Cruise, July 9th, it's going to be fun. It's more interactive. The goal is to bring like latest trends and latest things that you may not have the time to read about, you may not have the time to consider, and we're going to bring them out and get your opinions on them, give you our opinions. Again, our opinions and not our facts, but what we feel about the topic, and we'll discuss. Now, some of this stuff will get into politics, not intentionally, but anytime you're dealing with large construction or labor issues, there's going to be some things brought into the Blue Collar Cruise that is not our typical content. So if you don't mind, it may come up. We don't dive into those details of that very often. Try to keep it friendly here, and there's nothing friendly in politics. So we'll try to keep it as crisp as possible. But some of that cream might rise to the top, and I'm kind of excited for some new content. We're working real hard to siphon through all the trends and the new stuff and the new ideas, stuff that flooring people were a little behind. Construction in general,
little
behind in technology and staying on the forefront. But flooring, we're behind overall like the electrical contractors and the big GCs and stuff like that. So join us for the blue collar cruise, and it's going to be fun. Thanks, Justin. I love it.
Yeah.
Guys, you guys got anything else? Any closing comments, statements on time and resource management?
Nah, pretty much all I came away with was I got to be better. I got to organize, compartmentalize, and prioritize, right? And then the 3 Ds, right? Delete it, deal with it, or ditch it.
I like all the sayings you come up with.
What was the
you remember it?
What was the list that you said that you follow? I think you were talking about D6 or something.
Yeah, it's
D6,
called the D6 is one of them. And that's from Chet Holmes. He's passed away probably half a decade ago or more by now, unfortunately, but he was a really savvy business guy. So it was called the D6. And then there's Andy Fursilla's Power List, and you can actually buy the physical Power List from his website. Or you can grab a notebook, paper, and write down 5 things, whatever.
Yep.
Whatever
Create a master list.
But sometimes
create a master list, and then
that you can follow. Like I do certain routines every day, and I built a journal that I'll publish. But I built a journal. I got the copy. Got the physical copies from the publisher. But there's the things I do, and sometimes just having it organized for you does help. So the Power List from Andy or the D6 can be powerful tools, keep you laser focused.
So I got these big lists. I got like my master lists. Then I organize the master list into the to-do list. And then I have like these little sheets of paper that I put all of the tasks that involve in that bigger list. Yeah.
Well, you can simplify it maybe a little bit.
Yeah, I could. 100%.
All right, guys. Well, I guess we will catch you guys next week. And what is next week's topic? Do you know offhand, Ashlyn?
I think isn't Pruitt going to be on next week?
I think it is next week. That's
ain't nothing to it but to Pruitt.
Yeah, I have to remind him because he texted me 2 Tuesdays early this month. One of them he got dressed up for, thinking he was on. So I was like, dude, it's July 2nd. So
he's looking forward.
Love it.
He's looking forward to it.
All right.
I think he'll be ready and dressed up all fancy. I'm gonna tell him put his purple suit on. He used to crash my Christmas.
Yeah. So next week is the benefits of specializing in niche flooring markets. So
yeah, so if you're awesome carpet layer, being an awesome carpet layer, and Jorge'd be great for this too because he really did that. I know another guy that does, binding and serging, and that's basically all he does. So there's a lot of stuff into there from hardwood to tile. We'll get into that next week. Join us again if you see us on any of the socials. Make some comments. I'm gonna get better at reading and replying to comments. So get on there and let us know what you guys are thinking.
Yep.
All right.
Appreciate you guys. Thank you.
This week.
It was great. Enjoy spending the time with you guys.
Yeah.
Right,
take it easy,
see you
Kevin.
guys. See everyone next week.
All right.
Thanks, everyone.
Kevin.